So I'm going to go ahead and get going. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar. My name is Gabe Lawrence. I'm an associate here at Jumpstart. I am joined today by Alex Harb, CEO of Lena, Andrew Suggs, the CEO of LiveChair, and Farhan Chaudhry, the CTO of Hello Patients. So before we really get going and digging in, I'd like the founders to introduce themselves. So Alex, Andrew, Farhan, could you please introduce yourselves and your companies?
Sure, Gabe. Yeah, thank you. So I'm Alex Harb. I'm the founder and CEO of Lena. And at Lena, we provide a text-based health companion to socially isolated patients for health systems. And so we can provide that these patients that are living alone at home or with limited support systems, the support of a health companion that can help them navigate their health, but also identify when they need to be escalated to a clinical nurse team. And so we do that with patients today, and we're getting some really great results on patient engagement, and we're really happy about the trajectory of the company.
Yeah, so my name is Andrew Suggs. I'm the co-founder and CEO of LiveChair, and LiveChair is enabling healthcare organizations to aid, access, influence, and track hard-to-reach minority members, improving healthcare outcomes and healthcare utilization through barbershops and hair salons. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm not sure, Gabe, if you want to discuss the problem and the solution, but that's who we are.
Perfect. Thanks, Andrew. Then Farhan.
Hey guys, Farhan Chaudhry, CTO of Hello Patients and co-founder. We're bringing patient transparency to billing. We're helping providers collect faster on their receivables, and then giving a patient visibility to how much they owe faster instead of 6 months down the road. Patient communications. Our slogan is intelligent patient engagement, where we notify the patient every step of the process of when a bill is due, how it's, as soon as it's available, connecting to insurances and making sure that the patient is aware of what's going on with their balances in the healthcare.
Got it. Great. Well, perfect. So before getting things really kicked off, I'd like to start with a quick outline of what we're going to be covering over the next hour today. So first, we're going to learn more about Lena, LiveChair, and Hello Patients. Second, we're then going to discuss with the founders the Jumpstart application process and their onboarding experience. We're then going to discuss a little bit around the importance of founder community. And then we'll close by having the founders answer any questions you all have. So feel free during the course of today's discussion to type a question in the chat, and we'll make sure to get to it at the end of this conversation. So with that being said, I want to just open it up and start with a question to Alex at Lena. So you have a really interesting origination story. Can you walk us through how you started Lena, going from market pain point identification all the way to company launch?
Yeah, I'm happy to, Gabe. Yeah, so even before we started the company, I had personally been working in the Texas Medical Center for several years in their Innovation Institute. And really my job for many years was to work with the 60 member institutions, 21 of which are health systems with, departments and like accountable care organizations that are managing Medicare value-based care patients, inpatient, outpatient, and really identify pain points and inefficiencies, and then help identify startups and companies and new emerging technologies that can address these pain points. So I had been doing that for several years, and then finally the Texas Medical Center asked me to, they opened the doors to me, to the whole medical center, and told me to go and find a top unmet need, not just in Texas Medical Center, but countrywide, that is a big pain point that is not being addressed today. And so the number one pain point and inefficiency that I saw was social isolation. That was not just a big pain point today, but that was going to grow to become a massive problem as we see the population grow, as we see patients go more and more to value-based care payer models. And so the Texas Medical Center backed us to commercialize this, build a team, and so we launched Lena. And really it was this process of identifying first the pain point with our target customers, having them tell us exactly from various stakeholders the C-suite, physicians, nurses, patients, and that was really critical for us to start from and then build from there. So that's how we started Lena, and ever since then we've been continuing to iterate and see where exactly is an ideal fit, because we've built that network of people in the Texas Medical Center and beyond now, including United Healthcare and organizations outside of the Texas Medical Center now.
Got it. Interesting. Okay, I want to get back to how you're going and how your pilot is going down in Houston, but I want to turn it over to Farhan at Hello Patients. I know, Farhan, you're working to increase the rate at which patients pay once they leave a physician's office. But your product is unique in that it has to balance between being usable by administrators and then also fitting within the patient's own needs. Can you talk about how you're balancing that process in your product design?
Sure. We have basically a provider portal and a patient portal. Once the provider portal, there's two ways to do it. We're integrating with EHR and PM systems that will automatically connect to our portal. We have a partnership pending that will connect us through many PMs, many EHR systems that are already connected to insurance companies. So there's two routes about going about this. In the provider side, they can either use the existing EHR that they're already using. We'll get notified as soon as a new patient is created within that EHR system. We'll create a record on our side, and then automatically we'll trigger an email and an account registration to the patient saying, hey, your account has been created under this provider. Here's your login information. That's one way. The other way is providers using our platform directly, is they're logging into hellopatients.com with their username and password. And then again, once that user account is created, that patient experience is still the same, where they automatically get a notification saying that, you know, this account has been created for you. Please log in and view your information. Or one of our enhancements coming up in August is we're actually branding that portal, the patient portal, to the provider. So depending on who you go visit, the email you get will be from that provider. So the patient's not confused saying, okay, who's Hello Patients, right? We're building our brand at the same time, but we want to make that providers want to show that, okay, this is our, you know, platform as well. So we're combining that effort and saying, okay, this is the provider you visited. Here's your portal for the patient login. It's pretty seamless. It's similar functionalities between both. Patients can set up payment plans on outstanding balances. We're actually working on a quick pay functionality where once a bill is generated in the EHR PM systems for patient responsibility, we'll pick up that bill from the PM EHR systems, right? Our system will know, okay, this patient has a balance due now. And instead of that lag of where once the PM knows and then the provider has to pull it down from the PM, print out a statement, mail it to the patient, that can take an extra administrative task, take additional 90 days, 60 days, depending on how many claims you have coming in a day. So as soon as that insurance updates that PM EHR system, we're actually capturing that balance, and we're shooting, and Hello Patients is shooting an email to the patient at the same time and saying, here's your balance due, click here to pay now. So they'll simply click on that link, they'll enter their phone number, they'll get a text message because their account's already been created. So then they'll be able to pull up their information and pay their bills immediately right then and there.
Got it. Great. And then transitioning to Andrew. So you guys are exploring a couple of different revenue models. Can you describe the different possible models and how you're going about customer discovery to figure out that initial model?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. So we look at this in like a couple phases. So phase one, we live in a fee-for-service world. So basically referrals or routing people, members into the right channels, into health systems, whether that be a PCP or other service lines we're looking to route members into. The second phase is patient engagement and monitoring, right? Because of the data that we collect after the survey is completed, we're able to do some interesting things on the back end. So whether that is, you know, monitoring someone's hypertension or diabetes and passing that data along to the health system or primary care provider, we'll be able to bill for or a subscription model similar to like Omada or Livongo and those players. And then ultimately, like phase 3 is the population health. So because we have access, influence, and engagement, and we have regularity, meaning we see these members with a frequency of twice per month, we are able to track them over time and be able to do some interesting things as far as data analysis, and then pass that back on, or pass that information back to our partners. So phase 1, fee for service; phase 2, patient engagement, at home monitoring; and then phase 3, population health.
Got it. Great. And then turning it back over to Alex, I know we left off on your initial answer. So you have a pilot going right now down in Houston. Could you give the listeners a little bit more background on what you guys are testing, what have you learned, and how that's shaping your development going forward?
Yeah, most certainly. So we've had two initial customer deployments. One has been with the Greater Houston YMCA. That was our first really test site, and it tested something different than what we're testing today. Today we are we deployed and have gone live with Houston Methodist Coordinated Care, which is the ACO of more than 30,000 Medicare patients, all under a value-based care umbrella, right? Preventive care. And we've deployed to provide a text-based virtual health companion for those patients. And we really wanted to see what is the engagement of patients, and how could we identify on a rolling basis opportunities to either escalate these patients for clinical intervention before they end up in the ER, as well as can we identify problems, social challenges, right? Whether if it's affordability of their prescriptions or needing food pantries, and be that agent for helping them connect to those social resources in their community. So we utilize some of those existing platforms that give us visibility into the zip code. For example, Aunt Bertha, who is a Techstars company, we're part of that network as well, who we can utilize to connect patients and help them navigate those resources. So in essence, with this pilot, we have seen more than 70% patient opt-in rate, which is astounding, right? So there's usually single-digit opt-in rates for any type of program in healthcare. We've seen more than 85% weekly engagement from patients that have a health companion, and that gives us such a great view on their everyday lives. That gives us context into what are they struggling with, how well are they doing, and can we escalate them now instead of while they're in the hospital being admitted already. And so in more than 70% of these patients, we're able to identify opportunities to escalate them and help them navigate their care, helping them close gaps in care as well, which is really important for value-based care models. And then lastly, we are tracking closely levels of isolation and loneliness, utilizing the UCLA loneliness scale, which is standardized. And we can see a score of patients over time as they engage with their dedicated health companion. And we've seen a steady decrease of patients even amidst the isolation because of the pandemic. And so these are the things that we're really actively collecting data on, and really think that are important KPIs, not just for us, but our customers as well, the health systems.
Got it. Okay, and so you're eventually going to make the leap from selling into providers to partnering with payers down the line. So what are you guys doing to position yourself for that transition? What data are you trying to collect? How are you trying to position yourself to make it so that payers can really see the value here?
Yeah. And we that is a really great question, and that really, for us, our roadmap was shaped by our experience with United Healthcare. We were in their headquarters in Minneapolis for 4 months through the Techstars program, which is an incredible program as well. And we spoke with Medicare, Medicaid executives, as well as their innovation group, to understand how should we position ourselves over time to not just be positioned to be somebody that they would consider, but somebody that they would ultimately partner with and purchase and potentially even invest. So what we found was that in platforms like us, engagement is the #1 metric, because after engagement, you can really open up opportunities for other services that are critical for a patient's care. So the more data that we're collecting on patients that are engaged, how many opt in, how many remain engaged for a long period of time, that's really going to set us up for a fruitful partnership with payers, whether if it's United Healthcare or Humana or Aetna. They're the next target after health systems, and particularly because health systems are feeling this pain point more immediately. And we have such a great network coming out of the Texas Medical Center. So it makes sense for us to start with them, garner a lot of data, have a proximity to the providers, the primary care providers and the nursing teams. And then we can look at a much more macro level view, scale out with payers. And I don't think that that is very far ahead of us. We think we're going to be able to tackle that very soon.
Got it. Well, great. And so just transitioning to Farhan, so you guys, have patients that have high out-of-pocket costs, and so you're trying to make it easier for these patients to pay. But additionally, you're trying to create a product that enables providers to maximize their entire revenue cycle and balance that between the negotiations with the payers. How are you guys going about that?
So when a patient is initially registered in the system, we capture their credit card information during the copay process. That credit card information is actually stored into our account. We're PCI compliant, HIPAA compliant, so we're actually storing it as a wallet feature for the patient. So once a balance is actually received, there'll be two different methods, which we're still vetting out and how to process this. Is one, we'll send a notification to the patient saying, hey, your balance is, this is how it's due. And two, auto scheduling depending on the balance, saying, okay, if the provider has certain legal terms already agreed with the patient and gets signed off saying any future balances will automatically collect for you, right? So that eliminates that process of where, hey, once the insurance tells the doctor, this is how much the 20% that the patient has to pay, the doctor doesn't have to sit there, try calling the patient over and over again. We don't have a credit card on file. How are we going to collect this payment? So doctors are losing anywhere from literally 55 to 80% receivables go uncollected. So we're trying to lower that number, right? We're trying to make it so that payment method is already on file, so the doctor can process the payment, and two, where the patient can quickly just go to the website and say, this is how much I owe, this is my bill, let me set up a payment plan. So instead of the doctor saying, hey, you owe $5,000, this procedure is going to cost you $5,000, can you do it or not? They're like, no, I can't pay that $5,000 today. Like, okay, well, I guess I can't take you. Well, why not? Doctors be like, okay, well, I can take you. Do you want to pay $150 a month? Is that doable for you? Great. Automatically set up that payment plan. Automatic reminders of when that payment is going to come out. Patients are being notified through text message, which we're working on actually this sprint right now. So it'll be right in the next 30 days. Is we're sending notifications saying, hey, this payment is going to be processed for you in the next 30 days. So we're splitting that large balance up into manageable amounts for the patient on a monthly, weekly, bi-weekly, however they want to pay. It's totally customizable payment plans for that. 0% interest. The doctors have the option right now to say, okay, instead of denying someone who can't pay $5,000, let's pay monthly. At least the doctor is going to get some business rather than saying, okay, I can't take you at all. Right. So it definitely helps that peace of mind for that patient saying, okay, and we're combining it too, right? So if I go and I have $5,000 and my son has $1,000, we can combine that and say, okay, $6,000, what can you pay? I know you can't pay $100 for this and $300 for this. Okay, let's do $300 for both. And then we'll split it up based on the percentage of those total balances.
Got it. Okay, great. And so turning over to Andrew, you all have assembled a group of physicians that you and the rest of the core team speak with on a regular basis. How impactful has that been on the company's development, and what are some concrete takeaways from those conversations?
Yeah, I think it's been very fruitful having a biweekly call of physicians and also other healthcare professionals to really give us the clinical expertise, which is something that we were missing amongst the team before that council was formed. And so just recently, we brought on someone who has population health experience, and the insights provided really allowed us to go back to our current partner and structure the contract that we're currently involved in, and ensuring that there's a revenue stream for the referrals that we have now versus 6 months from now, right? So we're really trying to get these insights from people that are inside of these organizations, right? Because we haven't been inside of those organizations as from an expertise perspective, or had someone on that team that has. But now with this council, we're able to get those insights. So that's specifically on like the health system side. It's also been fruitful on the development of our data capture forms. So for example, our health risk assessment, being able to know which questions to ask, right, that are appealing to the potential payers. That's been fruitful. And also because we are equipping and training our liaison of community ambassadors, barbers, and hairdressers with blood pressure cuffs and infrared thermometers, just simple things like which one is the most clinically accurate. At what temperature level should we cut people off at the barbershop or the hair salon? So providing that clinical expertise to ensure that we're hitting on all cylinders on the health side of the piece in the barbershop has been probably the two most fruitful things. So providing insights because they are internally inside of those systems and relaying that message back to us to help us formalize our contracts. And then also the development of our health risk assessments and other data capture forms that we're using to ingest data.
Got it. And so you guys are also though working to try to perhaps get more people enrolled in insurance by putting care, in these barbershops. Can you describe kind of that model and how you could potentially build a revenue model out of that position?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. So because of the data capture form, I mean, we have a pretty comprehensive questionnaire that we have each client or member take. And so if someone answers that they don't have, specifically in Maryland, which is where our initial pilot will scale out in the coming months to other cities and states. But if a patient or member says that they don't have insurance, well, we are connected with the Maryland Health Connection Network. And so we have a line where we can route that patient to, or that member to, in order to ensure that they get insurance. Now, Maryland is a little bit different because I think some of the initiatives and laws in place, their uninsured rate is a lot lower than other states that our clients live in. However, the model still applies, right? Because I think, Maryland globally, or Maryland as a state, has 6%, and African Americans make up about 15% of that. So we have a huge chunk to still get on, insurance, whether that be a commercial provider or or Medicaid.
Got it. Okay. And turning it over to Alex. So you guys have a very scalable solution to social isolation. There's other less scalable solutions such as Papa out there that are looking to connect, college students and put them into seniors' homes. Can you describe the decision to say, I need to develop a more scalable solution, but while doing so, I need to make sure I can still capture all the data I need to?
Yeah. I think there's a place in healthcare for scalable and non-scalable. So, Papa's doing great, and they are certainly serving a market need, right? And that's the need to be able to have a real human come in person and provide a service. But there's also this other need of having a more empathetic virtual approach to have more touch points, which is really important for patients that are experiencing healthcare every single day, right? With multiple comorbidities, multiple challenges, either with social issues like affordability or things like dementia, right? Not being able to remember to take their meds or forgetting that their appointment is coming up. All of these challenges really beg for a need to have someone be available every day for that person. And with the communication capabilities that we have today through text and voice and tablets, there's no reason why we can't have somebody or something like an AI chatbot or a combination of a virtual person with the AI chatbot be available to guide those patients in their own comfort of their homes. More and more people are aging from home, so this is becoming a need. And so it's really important for us to continue to build a tool, an engagement apparatus that is so empathetic and that it really captures the engagement of these patients. They build a relationship with the companion or with their dedicated health companion who could be a real human, and to facilitate that journey in their recovery. And so there's certainly a space for these non-scalable or less scalable, I would say, services, but there's also a really big need for a virtual companion, a virtual guide that can help patients while they're at home, while they're alone, or while they maybe only have a spouse and they need additional support systems that, and feel like they're closer to their care teams.
Right. Got it. Okay. Perfect. So I want to change gears slightly here. And I want to ask you guys a little bit about the Jumpstart application process. So just going from Farhan, Alex to Andrew, can you guys describe the application process and what it was like going from applicant to Jumpstart portfolio company?
Yeah, so what was from where to Jumpstart? What was the first part?
So just all the way from an applicant to
applicant. Okay.
portfolio
Yeah.
company.
Yeah, I think it was pretty smooth. Honestly, my partner, my co-founder, my other co-founder was actually part of the main process of it. But we did some of the prepping and the questions. I think it was a pretty smooth process. Really liked, how you guys vetted it out. The questions were very relevant. It made us like question each other, saying, okay, is this exactly what we want to say? Like, is this our core? What are exactly the problems we're solving and things like that. I think it answered some of the unanswered questions that we didn't think about before as well.
Yeah, I'll second that as well. I think that the process for, as I remember it, was, an initial application that allowed us to explain through text everything that we can about the company. But then we also had the opportunity to go through a virtual video interview, which was involved recording our answers to questions that were asked at each iteration of a video, with a limited time but unlimited opportunity to redo that video that we were capturing. And what I really liked about that was that we could really put our best foot forward and really develop what we wanted to say. And it just gives us an opportunity to shine our best light the way that we want it. And so I really enjoyed that. And I think that can really, I imagine, help the teams deciding at Jumpstart Foundry make the best decision possible, because you're allowing these founders to have the space to explain really what is the model, what's the opportunity as they see it. And so I really enjoyed that. As being a now part of the portfolio has been great. We were virtual this year, and I have colleagues who were previous portfolio companies, so I knew more or less what to expect. But really the benefit has been connecting with the mentors and connecting with these other founders that we can trade notes, and we've been able to do that even virtually. So it's been really great.
Great.
Yeah, and for me, I'll echo what Alex said. I thought the virtual video with the unlimited takes was great, because not only did you get an opportunity to hear what you were communicating, but you also had the opportunity to ensure that you put your best foot forward, or your best message forward. As far as like now being a part of the portfolio, I've been flabbergasted, right? That what's displayed on the website is actually manifesting into tangible material results in our business. So for example, when you think about the community that we are now in, Alex and we're going to have a call on tomorrow to discuss, some different tactics on selling into health systems, for example. So application process was one of the more smoother applications that I've submitted. The virtual interviews I thought was great and fantastic. It also, even during the takes, I was like, wow, maybe we should change that message and not say that right publicly. So it was a great opportunity to kind of hone in some of our own internal sound bites. And then lastly, I've been, it's been a great joy to be a part of the team so far in the portfolio companies.
Great to hear. So yeah, and I want to then talk about, because a few weeks ago we had onboarding, which was essentially bringing our newest portfolio companies and introducing them to how we operate at Jumpstart. And so one of the things that we did was kind of split the new portfolio companies up into groups to talk about a few different things. And one of those conversations was around using ICPs to develop a go-to-market strategy. And our managing director, Eller, led that. I know all three of you were in that. So just going from Farhan to Alex to Andrew, what did you guys pull from that conversation?
Definitely helped us outline the first stage of that process, right? It helped us document it and keep it documented of what our customer profile is going to be. We had an idea of, okay, we're going to go for these clients, but we never really documented it. So I think it really put it down on paper and made us realize, okay, this is exactly what our focus is, right? This is the customer we need to tackle. So when we start looking out there of providers to go and pitch our product to, we go back to this ICP document and be like, okay, well, this is what we actually discussed. Do they meet this profile, right? It gives us certain stats to look at, saying, what is this doctor's problem? Does it match the problem we're solving? I think in our heads, we all had it in our heads, but we never formally documented it. So having that down there and basically having a baseline to go back and check exactly, this is it, right? This is our ideal provider. We should go definitely pitch to him, and we should have, and cater our pitch to that provider, because it all, the more you cater to them, the more they're going to be like, okay, yeah, they want to work with us, right? It's not like you're simple, one size fits all kind of solution. We're not. We're going to help doctors solve based off of, okay, accounts receivable or patient engagement. Which of the two are you most having problems with? Because we're solving those two problems.
Yeah, so it was a great session with Eller. She did a great job leading it, and I think that it really validated our approach, and I was really happy to see that. It was great to see what other founders had done as well, and for us, it really helped us to get the validation that we're on the right track of starting with the pain point, having started the company directly from talking with these customers and understanding where the inefficiencies are, but also to see as well that it helps to understand what are the target customers that we're going to go after over the next few years in our roadmap, that we can utilize our limited bandwidth to try and tackle, right? If it's a minimum size and a target type of value-based model, in our case, all of these items that are critical for our strategy moving forward as a company that has limited resources, that has to focus, has to have laser-like focus, right? And so I think that was really great to go through in that session, really useful for early stage companies like ours.
Yeah, and for me, I think Eller reiterated the point. I'm not sure if she used these exact words, but these are my words. No business plan survives first contact with customers. So ensuring that you're doing proper customer discovery and that your archetype or your ICP matches the pain points that a customer has, right? Because it's one thing to kind of theorize what we think, but it's another thing to have someone say, yes, I'm willing to pay for that pain point. So I think that's number one. Number two, I think, just as Alex said, having a laser focus on our customer. Eller also helped us, specifically at LiveChair, to understand, hey, you want to think about not just building your product for one customer, but having multiple conversations so that you can get a consensus, and then you're building things for multiple systems or multiple health plans, just versus just one system or one health plan. So I think that was very wise of her to bring those points up.
Right. And so after we split the group into a couple of different subgroups, over the course of the next few days, we had one-on-one meetings where you guys sat down one-on-one with some of our industry network. Could you walk me through your biggest concrete takeaway from one of those meetings? And we'll just go Alex, Andrew, Farhan here. You're on mute.
Muted. Okay. Okay. Yeah. No. So I was saying that I had a few really great insights, and but I'll mention one, and that was with the group, the Astellas group, which is a pharmaceutical company. And why it was really interesting was because we learned, from the direct stakeholders themselves, which they are part of the innovation group, mentors with Jumpstart Foundry, and that really what we are doing is also applicable to that vertical. So we had not put much thought into that, right? Because it's something that it's a little orthogonal, although we found that the ability to engage patients, to track data over time and identify non-adherence to medications is really valuable to pharmaceutical companies like theirs. And so that also helps us shape a little bit of who we target as customers, where we might try to go for to have some additional partnerships, as well as how we mold the product over the long term to serve those data points that can give us new verticals and have an even larger market size. So that was really insightful, and we built we had a really great conversation, and there's probably more to come from them.
Yeah, as for me, I think Marcus Whitney conversation. We had a conversation about service lines, and I hadn't heard that terminology prior to our call, so I've adopted into my vocabulary. And I think the team is surrounded and laser focused on figuring out the different service lines that will be applicable to the systems that we're serving. For example, ensuring that we're routing members out of the ER and maybe to an urgent care as their first point of contact. And, the compensation for kind of playing air traffic controller is different depending on which service line you route people into, right? Because if you can mitigate people utilizing services that they don't need, i.e., or example, given someone going to the ER when they can go to urgent care, or maybe even better, go to a PCP first. I think that was the biggest insight that I've gained so far with Marcus Whitney specifically.
And for us, I think it was the first call, definitely. I'm trying to find out who it was with, but it was really in explaining our product in that 90 to 120 second pitch, right? Saying what are we solving, what is our product doing, right? I think we had a little bit of difficulty in explaining, and took like a little bit lengthier time to exactly show what we're doing. I think that was a key takeaway for us, and by the last call, we definitely had it figured out. It helped us, the three co-founders, regroup and say, okay, let's review that ICP, let's review what problem we're solving, and let's just talk straight to that, right? Helped us realize we were kind of losing the person we were talking to in regards to just rambling on about our product, because we can talk, I can talk all day about HelloPatient. So it's like we really got to nail it down, shorten it down to exactly what, quick 30, 90 seconds. Hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we solve. This is what our platform does. And that really helped us to get from that a quick demo. I actually worked on a quick clickable demo. It's prototype clickable, but it's actually live screens that I've actually created where I can just quick click through the product and show them some separate features instead of logging to our demo site and then waiting for the system to respond and things like that. Because development environments, are sometimes slow. They're pushing code. They're working on code. So it always takes longer than expected. So those are definitely the key things where, we narrowed down exactly what our answer is going to be in a quick 30 to 60 to 90 second. And in developing that quick demo prototype clickable where we can just quickly show them exactly what we're doing.
Right. That makes sense. And kind of transitioning into our next section, just knowing that there's just a ton of startup advice out there. Like you can have 20 meetings and you can get conflicting information from half of them. So, how do you guys filter out some of that noise and decide what is valuable advice? And let's just go around from Alex to Andrew to Farhan on that one.
Yeah, no, this is huge. The way that I think about it is um, that there are two types of feedback and data points that you can collect. One is from your customers, your end users, and the other are from advisors that could be either entrepreneurs, investors, or subject matter experts. Any advice and feedback from customers and end users is never disregarded in my perspective. I think that is just another data point that you can add to the repertoire of feedback that help you mold the product, help you mold your business model, your pricing, etc. So that's one. But then the other side is where you can really, if you're not careful as a founder, can really be can be moved in either wrong directions or can be put into a mental situation with either the founders or yourself of inaction, because you're taking everything at face value if you're believing it all, right? And the way that I think about it is really in the form of believability. And really that means that has this person really gone, is their advice relevant to our space and to what we're tackling? Are they really thinking things through, for example, in the sense of fee for service, where we really operate in value-based care models? And so that really helps us to filter and weigh the advice, weigh that data point so that it does not guide us in a way that could perturb our focus, right? And so that's really the way we do it. Believability based on either their background, their subject matter expertise, or in the context that they're giving that advice.
Yeah, so I think for us, or for me specifically, it's very tough. Actually, my last call with Marcus, I asked him for advice on something, and he specifically said, "Look, I'm just going to be another opinion in the pool." And I thought that was so great, because you have various conflicting opinions on a multitude of things. So I kind of built this system of look at the data, then see how far the deviation of that advice is. If it's not far off of what the customer and what the market is telling you, implement those suggestions if they have the expertise in the particular industry that you're focused on, right? And I think that'll allow you to filter out, what the market actually says versus what someone who has a lot of experience, but they might not have experience in your particular field. So, for example, I'll be hard pressed for anyone to give me barbershop advice, having spent 80 hours a week the last 3.5 years traveling the country, with just one email. I might be great, but your advice might be so far removed from reality. So again, looking to see how far the deviation of that advice is versus or compared to the actual market, I think is the best filter mechanism that I've developed or come up with.
And for us, I think Alex hit that on the head, is where, is that advice relevant to us? Is it solving, going back to that ICP, is it solving that problem that we set out to solve for those with our product? Is it solving that specific problem, or is it a bigger picture, right? We definitely looked at it as, okay, we're not trying to solve everything, right? We're trying to solve small pieces at a time. If eventually in 10, 15, 20 years, we get to that big level, great. But we're tackling that first initial problem of accounts receivable and patient engagement. And how relevant is that advice coming and to that problem? Because that some of the advice that could come is basically, it's like, okay, that makes sense, 100% agree. It's not bad advice at all, but it's not really relevant to where our customer profile is. It's not relevant to what our product is actually doing. That definitely, and again, that falls back to how we pitch our product, how we present Hello Patients to folks. Is if this is the kind of advice they're giving us, then maybe they're not understanding, maybe we're not pitching it correctly, and maybe we're not explaining what problem we're solving. So that definitely helps us answer, reevaluate that pitch that we're doing to them. And like I said, just solving that small problem at a time, it's definitely easier to focus on one thing rather than 100 things, of course. So, and subject matter expert, I've had some experiences dealing with insurances, with EHR systems and stuff like that. So basically, it's a combination of both what Alex and Andrew said. Is taking that subject matter expert, how relevant is the advice, and then like Andrew said, taking that and calculating exactly, you know, where it falls through, where it falls into our product.
Right. And so I think one of the most important things as well, when filtering out the noises, is having a community of founders to bounce questions off of, as they're actually going through that experience as well. So I kind of just want to open it up and have you guys, you know, bounce any questions off one another that you guys currently have. So I guess just to start, Alex, is there anything that you think Farhan and Andrew could provide value from, you know, is there anything you would like help with that Farhan and Andrew can provide?
Yeah, so much. But I think one of the things that I wanted to ask these guys was, as a founder, one of the critical points in the life stage of a company is when we were hiring that founding team. You know, they're hiring advice out there. There's a ton of it, but other founders that have gone through it is really valuable feedback. But I'd love to hear from both of you. What are maybe one or two critical traits or principles that you follow when you're talking to a lot of people that could be potentially joining your company at this early stage, who are going to have such an influence on the outcomes of your company? What are some one or two traits that you think are universal when thinking about who to bring on board?
For us, we look at synergy a lot, right? We're not looking for someone who's the best at everything. We're looking for someone who's going to grow with us. For example, we're looking at social media, you know, hiring someone to do our social media. So right now we went with a friend who's working on a different project. He's starting up his social media thing, and we know he's not, you know, full-time healthcare and able to post, you know, a million things about Hello Patients, because he's still learning too. So we look for that synergy there, where it's like, okay, is this guy willing to learn? Is this guy gonna, you know, communicate properly to us? Is he gonna be respectful? Is he a good human being? That's more than half, 50%. That's probably what it is, because honestly, I think everything can be taught, everything can be learned. So nobody knows 100% of everything when they jump into a role, right? I didn't know everything about healthcare. I still don't. I'm still learning it. Same thing with my founders, right? They're on the payment side of it. So I jumped in with them because they have some knowledge of it. They're the business side of it. They know the payments part of it. I know the insurance side of it. I know the pain points that the patients are facing, because I was one of those patients that was facing those pain points. I had medical bills like crazy. So we synced up. We can have difficult discussions, and we've had some really hectic conversations. At the end of the day, it's like, hey man, we're just trying to grow the company, no hard feelings. So it's like we're happy at the end, really, because we get to the end result. So having that communication, that synergy, and the growing to learn is definitely the key aspect that we look for.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, I will say for me, work style alignment. That's number one, right? So if you are, you know, a morning guy and you're very stringent about everyone working from this set of time, but you have a night owl, like those are going to be conflicting styles, right? And that might bring tension into the business. I would say two, at this early stage, you need to be looking for someone that can get in the trenches and also be okay with being in the executive room. So if you're specifically bringing on someone with a ton of experience, they may want to camp out and do all strategy stuff when you really need boots on the ground doing the more tactical stuff. So having someone with that can play both roles, I think is vital. Hustle and grit. This is a startup. Like we're not running Fortune 25 companies where things are turnkey and you just come in and do your gig. Also, I think this is big, alignment of personality styles. And what I mean by that is, you know, does this person, specifically if you're looking at a co-founder or bringing on an early stage employee, does this person want to just like have a lifestyle business where, yeah, I want to work like 4 hours a week versus someone who's looking for a high growth exit, right? It's like, hey, we know we got to burn 80 to 90 hours this week to get things done. I mean, that's very key in my estimation. And then lastly, I'll say, give yourself grace, right? Because no founder has ever batted 100 on this, right? So I just give yourself grace, because you're going to make mistakes. And, you know, if someone tells you you're going to get this right, then I would run far away from that advice, because you're not. And no one has.
Yeah, yeah, great advice. Thanks, Andrew and Farhan.
Yeah, and same to you, Andrew. Is there anything that you would like to get Alex and Farhan's feedback on?
Well, Alex and I are talking tomorrow, but I really want to ensure that LiveChair is thinking about our revenue model in the right way. So, like, how did Alex and Farhan, like, how did you, when you were doing those customer discovery interviews with customers or hospital systems or health plans, what was the trigger point? What were the questions you asked specifically around, you know, this is a pain point. Are you willing to pay for that? Because in my mind, I think that's the most important thing. There's a ton of pain points, but not everyone is willing to actually pay for those pain points. So, yeah, that will be my question.
Yeah, I'll take a stab. I think it's a critical question, and willingness to pay, the number one way that I have seen is to validate that is to charge something for the pilot or for the initial trial. And in healthcare, there's a lot of often opportunities for people asking for free pilots. So let's do a free trial, but you have to stand strong with charging, because that will signal that they are really feeling a pain about that. And you can then give them a price that you are testing and seeing how much they're willing to pay, and validate your financial model, right? That will tell you how big the market could potentially be, or how big is a pain point according to, you know, how much they're willing to pay to alleviate that pain. It could be financial pain, it could be otherwise. And for us, our financial model was really tough or our pricing structure was really tough at the beginning, because the value-based care world is relatively new, in the sense that it's really in the trenches of understanding which ways health systems are willing to pay, and many of them are actually discovering it themselves. And so each customer that we've gone out to, we've asked, we've given, at the very beginning, we gave 2 different price structures, one that was aiming at one particular hypothesis, and another one that was aiming at a different pricing model, and explained our thinking on both, and they would choose one. And then the next customer, we would then begin playing with a variable of how high we can get the price, right? Because then that's a negotiation piece after you've gotten the right pricing structure. How much are they willing to pay? And then they'll negotiate you down if it's too much for them. And it's just more and more data points with each new customer to validate what is a good target price, what is a good target model. And for us, that has been really insightful. Nobody has been unreasonable in the executive rooms when we've done any of that. They've all been understanding. They've all been willing to play, and they've chosen, and they've actually given us exactly what they want. And so I think it works really well in my experience.
For us, it's a little bit different, since there's 2 models that we're actually going to be generating revenue off of. One is the platform price, and the other one is the processing of the payments, right? We're taking that credit card processing of that. So with our MVP, we've had a few friendlies, and we've kept that charge at a minimal. I think Alex, again, hit the nail on the head where he said, you know, cater it towards who you're pitching it to. If it's a really good friend, really good thing, you know, maybe lower it a little bit. If it's someone that is a referral, a little bit higher. You got to feel them out, right? For us right now, we're charging the minimal that we can, like $10-20 a month for our friendly that we're doing it, just because he's willing to join the calls with us and, you know, walk us through the product and where his pain points are. So we're utilizing him more than just, you know, hey, use our platform. He's actually telling us, giving us active feedback, and things like that. And then on the other side of it is we're making money either way, because we're going to be processing their payments. So we're making a little bit, not much, but we're making a little bit of money in that way. So I think it just depends on who it is. If it's a big hospital and things like that, of course they have money, so you know that you can charge them and they're willing to switch, and they have a big problem they're trying to solve. If it's a smaller location, you know, it all depends on what your costs are, maybe just a little bit about that. That's how we're approaching it. Because for us, I think we're going to get a lot of friendlies in the beginning. Once we get past our 5 providers, probably, then we'll start increasing the prices, because then we'll have data to show. We're very early. We're probably the newest out of everybody. We started October, November of last year. So we only have 1 provider, and we're hoping to add another 2, 3 by the end of this month. We're actually in talks with a few people right now. So once that plays out, I'll have like probably more clarity of exactly how we're going to be doing that.
Cool. Thanks, Jets.
Yeah.
And just to remind everyone listening, if you guys have any questions for the founders here, feel free to put them in the chat. But yeah, I'll open it back up to Farhan. Do you have anything that you'd like Andrew and Alex's feedback on?
Conflict resolution, right? Like if you think that you want your product to do this and then this way, and then your co-founder thinks it's gonna go this way. Andrew, I see you smiling because I bet you ran into this. And that's what I was talking about earlier, is, you know, where our partner and I, we have disagreements of where our things should go, but then at the end of the day, we come back and say, hey man, we're trying to make that product better, no hard feelings, you know, I'm not mad at you, I'm not this. Like, we're really good about that. And that falls back on that, you know, who do we hire? So we have that synergy there. But, you know, sometimes it gets heated. You're all very passionate about the product. What do you guys do to, you know, just get through that? And during the calls, even to calm yourself down a little bit and woosah.
Yeah. So this for me goes back to the concept of believability. It also stems into your team as well. And I really stole this concept from Ray Dalio, who is really a big advocate for this. And the reason is because, for example, if you have a discussion about a product feature, then the person who is most believable is really the people in the room that are touching the end user most. And so they should have the biggest weight in their opinion. Everyone can get an opinion, of course, but they should get the biggest weight. If I have a technical discussion happening, then the CTO is in much better position in my team to has the most believability in everyone's eyes when he's stating his position than, for example, the customer success or the accountant. You know, and that's kind of obvious, but you can really have this, you can really filter through a lot of those conflicts by having that principle in place as a way to make sure that everyone understands, okay, everyone is able to have an opinion. We really want to hear your voice, but ultimately there are going to be differences in weights on those opinions, and that's okay because we value everyone's expertise. And so if you come in with a certain expertise, then we're going to listen to you about that expertise. And so those are one of the filters. Of course, there's the calming advice that I always adhere to, which is be nice, and everyone should speak calmly. And if there's some type of very heated conflict, then leave it, give it room to breathe, and come back and resolve it later. So, but the believability piece for me has been really helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah, you know, I'm still working through this, and you know, I've failed numerous of times with conflict. But I will say, running a startup definitely improves your emotional intelligence. So I will say the first piece of advice, you should go get the book by Daniel Goleman called Emotional Intelligence. It'll be a tremendous value add to your life. I think too, just like practically, don't make things personal. Attack ideas and not people. I think I'm very vigilant about that. Hopefully my team knows that, like, if I'm getting heated or passionate, it's about the idea, not about the person, right? Because I don't want to bring faith in this thing, but I care for these people outside of LiveChair. So if I was to get, you know, voted out or something happened to me where I had to step down, I would still, you know, be in relationship with these people, right? So I never want to make anything personal, because at the end of the day, going back to who you hire, if there's an alignment to, hey, we're trying to make this organization grow for us, you know, improve community outcomes and have a nice financial return. If we're both coming to the table with our best ideas to to hit on those 2 points, then it's okay, right? If we're passionate about things. No one in life agrees on anything, right? I'm a married man, and my wife and I, we disagree about 50% of the time, right? So at the end of the day, like that same dynamic applies to your startup. You're going to have disagreements, right? So again, don't make it personal. Attack the ideas, and maybe just be very blunt about, hey, I'm attacking the idea. I think because, to Alex's point, I've had more touch points with the end user. You haven't had any touch points with the end user. So your advice might be theoretically and academically right, but it's not what people are actually telling us. And I think the more you can let data that is thought through, like thoughtfully, like evaluated, because sometimes data can be misleading, but like thoroughly thought through, I think it'll solve a lot of issues. And at the end of the day, as I told Alex about hiring, give yourself grace and just be humble, man. Like, we're all trying to figure this out. The biggest companies around have gotten this wrong. I mean, there's startup stories galore on co-founder conflict, right? So like from Google to Facebook to every single company, there's no I'm not going to say it. There's no Boy Scout startup around, right? There's no Kumbaya organization. Just, it doesn't exist.
I appreciate that. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and it looks like we don't have anyone that has posed a question in the chat. So I think that is it for today. Thank you so much, Alex, Andrew, and Farhan, for joining me today. That was great. Thank you all for listening in. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me at gabe@jsf.co. But yeah, thank you guys so much for participating and listening.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Gabe. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.